students, welcome to this series on business entrepreneurship. Today we are going to study social stability. Social stability is a system of social values where the society is genuinely combined in a way where the values and the culture are integrated. The entrepreneurs generate an economic system where the employment balance is there and people are genuinely happy in terms of their social life. The social values are important because if the social systems are not integrated in terms of cohesive abilities, they would result into kind of violence and in terms of cohesion to the society. So we have to be careful to build up systems which are socially stable. Now, why employment is necessary for a society to be happy? One's work is the means of developing one's craft, of refining one's character and contributing to the welfare and progress of society. Indeed, the fight against underemployment must begin with the dignity and value of all human labor, even if it is humble, insecure, unprofitable or unremunerated. So these are the words which basically show you how important it is for society to gain employment. This employment basically gives you the economic independence, and this economic independence builds the social systems. In embracing change to the society, the entrepreneurs ensure social and economic stability. These are the words by Gilder. In the words of Kofi Annan, founded on the principles of private initiative, entrepreneurship and self-employment, underpinned by the values of democracy, equality and solidarity, the cooperative movement can help and pave the way to more just and inclusive economic order. Why be an entrepreneur in a society to build social systems? We can see this by this model. The rewards of entrepreneurship are massive. In terms of profits, it's the financial gain and the kind of the personal achievement. In terms of independence, it is power to make your own decision. In terms of freedom, it is the escape from the undesirable situations of life. There is personal satisfaction in terms of satisfying the personal way of life and the personal fulfillment in terms of contributing to the community. So this model basically gives you the attributes and the impacts in terms of the social systems generated by the entrepreneur to design the life and the community. The total influences on the entrepreneurship development in a society are impacted by many factors which are again displayed by this basic model. Business is the most integral aspect of the society. This is impacted by infrastructure in terms of road and connectivity. Then it is the social system in terms of the growing changes and the needs of the customers, the political environment governed by the stability and employment laws, the economic environment governed by the low rate of interest, taxes and the growth rates, the technological environment governed by the internet and the genetic engineering, the demographics is the changing and the aging population and the growing youth needs, and the environment in terms dictated by the green plants and eco-friendly products. Now, the bigger companies which are operating in the environment genuinely have to be considered, and they have to value the social and the environmental values of the system. If these companies have to consider the business as a sensible part of their survival, it is necessary to look after to the needs of the society. It is because on the basis of the society, the businesses are surviving. If they, that is the company, believe that they are in business to serve people, to help solve the problems, to use and employ the ingenuity of their workers and to improve the lives of the people around them. By learning from the nature, it gives life and then we have a chance to survive. These are the words by Paul. So this basically shows you how important for a society is to sustain business which are rhythmic in nature to give benefits in terms of growth and building economic systems. The social stability is an important and integral part of entrepreneurship. We have this model where we have the x-axis and the y-axis. On the y-axis, we have the impacts which are well defined. On x-axis, we have the time in terms of primitive and modern. The changes start from the religion to culture, culture influencing the family and the social institutions, and the social institutions impacting the government formation, and the government dictating the education and changes happening in the total system. culture basically impact the business scenario? What is culture? Culture is a way of living habits of the people in terms which are impacted from generations to generation. Culture impacts the social institutions of the people. Culture has both the conscious and the unconscious impact on the society, and it is also displayed in form of material and non-material objects. The attitudes, beliefs and values are important for a society. Attitudes is a kind of a learned strategy by which a society behaves in a kind of a predestined and a defined way. Belief is organized knowledge about a thing or a perception about a service. Value is a kind of a happy desire about a subjective desire of a personally gained or preferable mode of living in a society. Religion is the basis of human society. Religion is one important source of society's belief, attitudes and values. If religion was not there, society would have been disintegrated, because it is the basic aspect of religion which gives you the identity. The religion is shaped by the beliefs, the rituals, the kind of the persona, the moral communities and the personal experience. They are very personal values to your aspect of living systems, but then these ideas and faith build the trust in the society. This trust transforms into the business institutions to facilitate exchange process. Now, beliefs are resulted in form of ideas on which the basic faith is built up. These are transformed into a kind of rituals. The rituals are the daily habits of the peoples which reinforce the faithful system. The moral communities are the shared religious belief among people, and the personal experience is giving meaning to one's life. So, when you exist in a society where religion is strong, there are less chances of having being corrupted people, or less chances of people who would genuinely destroy the social system. The religious rituals and the religious experience is important for the society to build up the solidarity and faith. It is basically required in terms of feelings and perceptions so as to be in direct contact with the ultimate reality of existence. The religion and functionalism is important because religion impacts the social institution and gives you many important functions for the businesses and the societies to exist. The first function which it imparts to the society is in terms of cohesion. Cohesion is, it reduces the social isolation. People come together in terms and get connected for exchange processes to fulfill their life. The social control in form of authority over significant events is necessary, and the social violations are avoided by this system of social control. We have a purpose to reduce the anxiety of people and reduce the stress level of the people so that people can live in a balanced society. The symbolic interaction of religion is important to create social identities. Identity is an essential element for social interactions, because once you have your identity, it builds the self-confidence, and people genuinely keep this religion as a private affair. They live their life by the values, they worship the God in their own way, and they share the kind of security with the God in their own way. The important aspects of religious civilizations are in form of the family and in terms of schools. The family is the basic institution which imparts religious values to the people, and people study the religious values in terms of their family orientation. The schools genuinely give you the habits and the ways of life so as to sustain your life in a beautiful way. Now, when we consider the environment and the development of products from the entrepreneurs, basically the sensitivity of the environment is essential. It is the adoption of product to the people's life habit, and adoption of people to the religious habit in terms of growing needs is important. We again have these kinds of two parameters where we have shown you how products are adopted in terms of the y-axis and how the environment sensitivity is there on the x-axis. When these sensitivities are low, the integrated systems or circuits are there. We have mediocre products available and adaptable to the consumer in form of computers and machinery. But when sensitivity is high and the product adoption is high, we have core products in terms of food, services, which are basically important for your survival of life. Now, this survival of life in terms of usage of product, which is very important for the people in terms of societal needs, is resultant in form of institutions. The institutions are built on the faith. The faith institutions which genuinely give rhythm to the society are family, education, religion, government, business, and these institutions reinforce to give the cultural variations. We have the changes in the society, and in terms of styles and demographics change happening because of these social institutions. Women is an important parameter of all the aspects. Women as a force when being suppressed, the society was backward. Women as a force when being empowered and educated, society became empowerment. Why women work in businesses and an entrepreneur is an important issue, again governing the social stability. Women work because of the economic necessity, because of the economic independence and being qualified to do work. It gives a sense of achievement and a kind of a pastime to earn money. It is a status symbol for people to attain power and prestige. This is how the society changes in terms of vision. The vision to be talented and technically built up in the modern society, which originated from the basic institutions of human being as an intact family system. This is being achieved by the basic academic skills and the employment skills which people cultivate in their life. This vision is generated and built by people who have a moral and a kind of a social belief in the society. In today's society, we have to grasp the needs of the time in terms of being stable, in terms of being educated, and in terms of being technically advanced. The social cohesion is important to give women and men the empowerment in the business sense. This is resultant in form of the shared identity, that is the common backgrounds and values shared by all people in terms of work ethics. It is the networks and the norms which people cultivate in terms to build up the social capital and the informal networks of social interactions. Then it is access and inequality, that is the income heterogeneity and the economic welfare, which is genuinely different, which results into a society where the work and the labor force of the people are genuinely binded together. The model of social cohesion is built up by this kind of the diagram where we have shown you the institutions in terms of structural equality among groups, and then we have the extensive bridging among the networks of the individual. This basically facilitates values, and these values result in giving to the quality of the democracy in terms of a society free of crimes, a society which is safe, an economy which is growth oriented. It gives you political and social stability. It gives you the social support systems, and the population is healthy in terms of health, both mentally and physically. Now, when you compare communities in terms of social health and in terms of the social identity, we have this quadrant, which basically shows you that on x-axis we have the networks among individuals, and on y-axis we have the structural equality among groups. The society is cohesive if the extensive networks are overlapping and built up strongly, and society is cohesive if the structural equality is more in terms that their inequality is less. If people are genuinely respectful to each other and have same status, we have a socially and a very good society built up. What could be a step in the right direction to build a society with social wealth? You have to deal with the issues in terms both at the micro and the macro level. We have to take into account the political dimensions governing the social system, the distribution of values among the people in terms of the levels of analysis at each level of demographic. The business has to understand society, not in terms of profits, but also in terms of philanthropy. We have this model built up in terms of pyramid. What is the basic mission? What is the basic value of business to survive? Of course, it is profits. But then you have a legal compliance where you look after the society. Then after legal compliance, you have the moral compliance. This moral compliance is basically resulted into a philanthropy. Now, when the business passes through the stages of evolution, at each stage profit was required. But now moral compliance is expected and philanthropy is desired by the society. We have passed from the stages of profit as legitimate goals to legal pluralism, to moral pluralism, and to the growing demands of the society in terms of philanthropy. Philanthropy is to build up a corporation in terms so that the customer chain is served in such a way that there is satisfaction of customers. We never have to cheat the suppliers. We have to give the services to society. But this sphere of influence has to include the needs of the environment and to the needs of the society. The basic legitimate needs of the society in terms of entrepreneurship is again reflected by this model. We have the political factors, we have the economic conditions and the social conditions governing the system. The success of any society depends when these factors are favorable in terms of doing business. Political factors can be favorable if we have stability and favorable environment created by the government in relation to the faith of the people. The economic conditions can be favorable if they are growth oriented and the fiscal policies relate to the investment aspects of the people. The social conditions can be favorable if there is moral reasoning and there are moral laws so that people can live happily. Now, when you are in era where there is a lot of problems in terms of the growing demands of the people and in terms of the youth coming to the society, we have to legitimize our strategies. This kind of strategic manipulation at social level is required because we have to manipulate many factors at work. See, we have the cost of the organization to change in order to look after the environment, in order to look after the changing human needs, and in order to look after the customer satisfaction needs in terms of the increased expectations of the people. Now, the consistency of society's expectations is increasing. We have again shown you on this x-axis and y-axis. That is, on x-axis we have the consistencies of societal expectations. We have the cost of gaining the environmental changes in terms of organization, both low and high. Now, the parameter, that is the strategic manipulation, is there when the consistency of expectation is high and when the change cost is high. So, because when you have to manipulate money in terms and you have to reduce your profit levels, there you have to strategically manipulate in terms to establish a sustainable balance so as to give a favorable equation to the society in terms of giving benefits, and the ecosystem in terms of the social cohesion also exists in a kind of a rhythmic way. We have the kind of the expectations when the society are low, we basically resorted to moral reasoning, and this has now basically transformed into kind of strategic manipulations. Social stability is necessary for a system because you have the social system which is genuinely decided or which is basically impacted by the government. Government and the social institutions work together to increase the education, innovations and growth of the society. And this government basically in terms of education and in terms of giving innovative skills to people enhances the social development cycle. What is the social development cycle? Here we have given you again a model. We have the conscious aspiration and initiative of the individuals. And this is, we have the social organizations by the collective support and the replicative initiatives taken by the people. This will result into a subconscious and a collective social cohesive efforts taken by the people. So, it is both the organizations and the individuals' aspirations put together give us the cohesive model of social stability. Now, education is the major force which basically transforms the people's values into a system where people get united together. We are in an era where wars have finished. We are in the Cold War era. Genuinely, the hot wars have finished because now this is the era where people have realized that if you have to live and you have to grow and you have to prosper, you have to make other people also live. Countries have stopped fighting just because we are in a kind of an era where the philosophy is live and let live others. Our shared challenge, in words of Joseph Logaczewski, says, we are attempting to educate students today so that they will be ready to move into the workforce to solve future problems that have not yet been identified, using technologies not yet invented, based on scientific knowledge not yet discovered. So, the future is uncertain. The generations which have to come have to move into an era which is genuinely stable and socially identified in terms of joint needs of people so that they can survive in a future where they can solve the problems of intense and complex technological advancement. The transition is from physical to mental evolution of people. The era has been replaced by physical replications to qualitative enhancement. From heredity, we have come to a learning environment. From survival orientation, we have come to rising aspirations of people. From social stability, we have come to the era of rapid development. From material resources, we have transformed ourselves to the knowledgeable resources. From collective conformity, we have emerged as an individual self who's empowered in terms of decision making and in terms of employment generating abilities. This basic table depicts the kind of the transitions in each phase. The mental organizations change people in terms of education, science, technology, and internet. The values definitely change with advancement of technology. The values from the kind of identity change to freedom and respect for each other. We have the rising expectation in terms of the society change. The youth want more and they demand more. The quest is for greater freedom and greater identity. The consumerism is increasing. The education madness is increasing in Asia, in India, and in world. We have the urge for social mobility. We have smaller families. We have the imputation for mobility and migration to other countries. We need education, training, and social attitudes which are changing at a very fast rate. We have a source of social unrest which has to be translated in form of trust. This basically has resulted and given changes in the employment scenario generated by the entrepreneurship. We have the kind of job expectation in terms of higher returns, in terms of challenges and money. Let's see the changes in the urban society through education. This education and skill development has transformed the society to give a future which is genuinely more refined. Before the reforms and after the reforms, what are the basic parameters? Let's see. We are in the era of from food guarantee to food markets. The job guarantee has given you rise to the labor market. The public health care system has become semi-commercial. The public education still remain a social arena. The labor insurance has changed to social insurance. The welfare housing has changed to the housing market. The social relief for 3 no's is to give a social assistance for all poor people in the society. Now let's see the changes by the education and skill development in both the urban and the rural systems. Before the reforms and after the reforms we have depicted in this tabular form. Let's see how the rural societies have changed in terms of reforms. We have before the reforms given here and we have after the reforms shown in this table. The public farmland is changes into a household farmland responsibility. The public healthcare system is being commercialized. Public education is still public education. Collective care has become social assistance. The guarantee is still there and the disaster relief has changed to kind of a disaster assistance. Now this all kind of changes into the society basically has resulted into a kind of a reform based system where both the government and the international forces and the international institution in terms of money, terms and aids have resulted into a system which is a social welfare system. The government is flexible towards the social policy and is genuinely looking after the problems of the society. The economic growth has impacted social stability and this has resulted not only in terms of the national government but these forces are impacting from the international aspects also. Let's see this model. International economic competition caused by global forces genuinely resulted into economic growth, but the government being flexible in terms of social policy has given you rise to the social problems caused by marketization and globalization. The strategies for instituting change in societies has resulted in terms of the changing value systems, the changing cost benefit analysis, and people are genuinely ready to change in terms of the technological upgradation. People are participating in decision making systems and we are in a system of reward sharing, that is the companies if they are earning profits, they are sharing with the people also. The socio-cultural factors impacting the business scenario are the increased cultural trends changing the product usage in terms of the variables of the product positioning also. There are the terms in terms of cultural changes, in terms of the marital trends, the divorce is increasing, in terms of the environmental concerns, the environment is changing, in terms the quality is reducing because we have the global warming and other core factors impacting the environment. But still the social systems and the environmental systems, if the problems are there, we have the strategies to govern the kind of the systems imbalances which are happening into the society. We are responding to the changes in terms of the increased abilities of people so as to develop scientific systems to look after and take care of the environment and the social institutions. We have the educational groups and we have the kind of the government partners in terms manipulating the people's aspirations and visions to develop a society where we can reduce the stress in the workforce of the people in terms to gain employment. Now let's study what makes people to live in a society which is genuinely good. People want to live in a society where there is low level of crime, where there is high level of health services, there is affordable and decent housing systems, shopping facilities, public transport systems, education, job prospects, clean streets, activities for teenagers and activities for young children. So we desire for life which is genuinely socially good, and socially it has a quality in terms of growth and in terms of prosperity. We have to balance the system in terms of ecological kind of sensitivity also. We need systems which are naturally green in terms where the resources are the rich. We need to have a system where the pollution is less. The social systems are guided by the values and the changes. We need to have freedom, we need to have equality, we need to have work ethics, achievement, success and fulfillment in terms of the patriotism for one's country. All these needs are important society to exist in a kind of environment which is rich, both politically, value based, culturally and socially. We are in an environment where only democracy is not important, but moral democracy is also important. This is the change in the system where we have the freedoms in terms of the trends emerging in the society. The demographic systems which impact the society are the changing population size, the changing age structure, the changing geographical distributions, the ethnic mix, the income generation of the people, the increased standard of living of the people. The social changes which are impacting the society are in terms of women being in the workforce diversity, the changing habits and values, the increased interest in hobbies and activities, and the lifestyle changing. The economic changes happening into the social systems are the inflation rates, the interest rates increasing, the tight control of budgets and trade deficits, and the tight control of the exchange rates. We are into a system of political legal trends which is genuinely the laws in form of antitrust laws, the taxation laws, the labor laws, the regulatory issues and the impeding legislation. So this is basically a kind of a system which is shaped by many trends put together. But still life is also designed by the technological trends. It is also shaped by the product innovations, communication systems, networks, cost, speed. The kind of the expenditures increased on each activity has increased. The global trends are also impacting the national economies and the national social systems. The key political events, the critical global markets, the newly industrialized countries, the varying cultural national attributes and the political instability at the international level is also impacting the social systems. We are in a kind of an era where the demographics is changing, but these changes, people are building up a kind of a faith in terms so as to influence the social stability. The social stability as designed by entrepreneurs can be seen in this model. We have to manage the values and ethics. We have to manage the intellectual property rights. We have to manage the markets and the competitors. The society and family has to be in rhythm. We have to have money and finances both. The education and skills both. The operations and commercialization of products both are important. Work has to be in rhythm with the environment and in society. The factors that impact the social philosophy of a society are the government, family, parents, knowledge, development, religion, culture, everything. But above all these, the skills of the people in shaping the social stability is important. Skill in terms of technical, management competencies and personal attributes are important. The technical skills in terms of market industry understanding, management competencies in terms of understanding marketing, finance and human relations, and personal attributes in terms of innovations determine the forces and the focus of your life. So this basically system in which we are building up so much of education and skills results into kind of a society which is achievement oriented, which is genuinely freedom oriented, which is genuinely calculated risk take oriented, and this society has emotional stability, and this society also has the ability to network with people. These cultural bonds of trust and faith build the social systems. A society which is socially valuable can build up the valuable economic systems. A valuable social system is important to be a kind of parameter and pillar for the economic growth. Thank you, students.